Hello! So I wanted to talk a little bit about this phenomenon that I see happening throughout the MGTOW community and men's rights community. Have you ever noticed how this community is so quick to condemn women without looking at themselves? Don't get me wrong, I was a MGTOW for years. But for me, I never made it a point to use women. I never made it a point to use them for sex, to use them for emotional appeal, nothing like that. When I subscribed to the MGTOW mindset, I focused on myself and focused on growing my hobbies. However, a worryingly large amount of men are taking an opposite approach to that. Instead of focusing on themselves and their well-being, they're getting bitter, they're getting resentful, and they want revenge. Now, some people can classify this as temporary red pill rage. And sure, maybe it is temporary. But even if it is temporary, it could hurt a woman long term. This is mainly geared towards the men that have carefree sex with women, that use women for sex without the feeling of guilt, thinking that because the society is inherently wrong and women are more likely to be corrupted, that their actions have at least some moral merit. I am here to tell you that you're wrong in certain regards. Say that a man goes through that red pill rage and his desire is to get revenge on women. He wants to make them feel similar pain to what he felt, knowing that relationships aren't the way that he exactly envisioned it in his head, aren't the way that he exactly wants it. So he sleeps with a girl and uses her purely for sex, no strings attached, and leaves her afterwards, or just simply strings her along for more sex while she hopes for a relationship. Now, say this woman was a genuinely good woman. She hasn't slept around yet, she hasn't done anything like that, she's naive. Well, if this is her first time or she emotionally invests in this relationship, she's a lot more likely to go towards gynocentric ideologies. These men are pushing women towards the very ideology and mindset that they hate and that has driven them to this mindset in the first place. And if your first objection was to say that women like that do not exist, that innocent women that genuinely bond through sex are a thing of the past, then you are simply part of the problem because you perpetuate this type of mindset and behavior. We always like to personify people in an in and an out group. Political movements throughout the centuries have used this to their advantage. Sometimes these in and out groups are justified, and sometimes they're not. However, inside these groups and broad generalizations, there are always exceptions. Even if the majority of women do not bond through sex because they have been so damaged through repeated sexual encounters, there will be select women who have not experienced that yet or simply do not feel that way. As we use the red pill rage to justify the harm dealt towards women, we push more women away from mending the relationship between the genders, away from relationships as the way they should be. If men can be exceptions to the way masculinity currently is, with all these soy boys and horrible players, then there will be women who will be exceptions as well. Whether it is more or less likely, they do exist. So why are you justifying the ideology that these gynocentric women are perpetuating, which will bring more of these women who are exceptions towards that ideology, even if it's not directly affecting them? If they see repeated harm towards these gynocentric women which justify the ideology, why wouldn't they join it? It would be a self-preventative and protective measure. Why are we a part of MGTOW? To the men that actually want a family, to the men that actually want a relationship, to a man that actually wants more of a traditional family. We are part of it as a preventative and protective measure against the gynocentric relationships that are currently put throughout society. Instead of sectioning ourselves off with hate, instead of sectioning off the outgroup, we should look at the outgroup for what it is. I've always taken MGTOW advice at face value. I know that their advice can generally apply, but it will not apply when there are exceptions. Same rule applies to men. Why are we complaining about a culture where women are so centered, where women are overly sexualized, when we sexualize women so much through means such as porn and OnlyFans? Why do we complain that women are so self-centered, so focused on being sex objects and not focused on the family, when we ourselves objectify women to bring them to that position? If none of this applies to you, congratulations, I'm glad. But if we truly want change, if we don't want to be a reactionary movement that instead of instituting something greater, simply uses it as an excuse to hate a particular group, then we must be the change that we want to see. We must succeed, and we must do so by embodying our values as well as succeeding in the current society. Let's be the millionaires. Let's be the business owners. Let's be the people who are so in tune with ourselves and so improved that nobody can even question our success and adaptability. When we ourselves are the exception to the society, we will find others who are exceptions as well. Overall, view MGTOW as a very good framework, very good general rules for how the majority of women are. But realize that with any framework, there are exceptions, same as there are exceptions for men. Do not use the framework as a way to push people towards the ideology that you hate and to hurt people who are those exceptions. Otherwise, you're just as bad as all the feminists that you rant and rave about. If we are truly exceptions to the way masculinity is in this current day and age, if we truly are men as the way that they're meant to be, then we will be different. And we are different. I guess I could also label this video as don't give up. If you are a MGTOW, an MRA, an incel, or whatever you identify yourself as, don't let things you perceive as out of your control justify your own acceptance of failure. Overall, our perception is what limits us or gives us new potential. For those who perceive that there is no recourse but to give up, for those who perceive that the only option is to quit, then they have already lost. When, as men, have we truly ever been defeatist? When have men who have truly given up, who have said that something is truly impossible, ever achieved something great? And if you give me an example, it'll be easy to tell that that is the exception and not the norm. All great men pushed for what they wanted, what they believed in, regardless of the circumstance. They made the circumstance into what they wanted. Part of sectioning yourself off from the out group is the fear of getting hurt. Naturally, because if we didn't fear getting hurt, we wouldn't have to focus on how unjust the courts are and how much that can affect us in ways that aren't exactly preferable. There are some men that genuinely don't want relationships, and to this it isn't aimed at. But to the men that genuinely do, but think that it is impossible, don't let society dictate who you are. If you want to be different, it starts with you. If you want to encourage somebody to be different and to follow you, it starts with you. If being separate from women is something that you truly want, if you want to focus on yourself and improve yourself, by all means go for it. Whether it is a phase or something that will stick around permanently, it'll cause you a lot of good. But if you do truly want that relationship, don't let the society trick you out of it. Make a way, even if it isn't popular, even if it's a way only you know. Be the success story that other people are afraid to be. If you don't want to be in a relationship with women, if you just want to focus on yourself, that's great too, and I 100% applaud that. But do not go around using women for sex, or you are just part of the problem. We all need to learn to open up, not just to others, but to ourselves. To the men that do want to pursue a relationship, but are afraid. To the men that use MGTOW as a way to hide their own fears. Face the pain head on, embrace the suck, keep pushing, and maybe, just maybe, you'll win. Alright, that's all. Bottom line for everybody. Don't be the thing that you hate. Don't contribute towards what you don't want to see. Be the change you want to see. Have the courage to do something different. Deal with the fear of pain and push past it. We are men, and our potential is limitless.